So that's a good start. Two people in agreement, setting off in an interview. My God. But yeah, taking interviews, being on your side is actually more nerve wracking because I often do that as well. When I was talking to Sudha Murthy, for example, I felt like I was in a classroom, and sometimes you have someone where you feel like, can I just pluck my eyelashes one at a time and my life would be easier? Hopefully, I will not be the latter. So, yeah, let's begin.
Hey Twinkle, so nice to chat with you always. And like I confess, I'm always nervous interviewing somebody who's very well read. Okay.
Okay.
That establishes the conversation. We're going to talk about books and more books and about a little bit about motherhood and books. One of the questions that we frequently get asked on Kids Talk Press, especially from moms, I'm not a reader. I want to raise a reader. What do I do?
Well, I think primarily, so I have a couple of tips about this. Kids really are not interested in listening to what we say. They're just watching what we do. So if you're going to tell your child, oh, you know what, you need to read while you're binge watching something on Netflix, that's really not going to happen. So if you want your child to be a reader, you have to set an example, and you could set two kinds of examples because children respond to extreme behavior. Either you're really a reader who puts your nose, in a book every single day and they see you doing that, or then you go to the opposite extreme and you say, I am never going to allow a book in my house. I'm going to burn books if I see them. So just I would say the allure of the forbidden fruit makes readers. That's one way. The other way is you make reading fun. And I would say that, both of you sit together, read aloud passages from books, put on some funny voices, make funny faces, talk about books over the dining table when you're having dinner. And the other thing that my daughter is very naturally competitive. So we have competitions, reading competitions. Now her books are full of illustrations and mine are not. But still, it'd be like in 10 minutes, how many pages have you read and how many pages have I read? And of course, she's the winner. So I guess making reading a part of a family bond and making reading fun are some of the ways that you can really raise a reader. And that is what we're trying to do as well with the Tweak Book Club.
I mean, they say that if you're not a reader, you haven't found the right book. How are you going to make sure that you're putting the right book in that box?
I don't think there is a right book. I don't think that there is a single book that you can say this is the right book for anything. What we are trying to do, we have, of course, Sudha Murthy's book in it because all of India loves her, we love her, and we want children to love her, and children do love her. But it is about getting into an experience of wanting to get into another world, to sort of look at books as not just information, but escape. I think as a child, when I was in boarding school, and I never really felt lonely, even though I was new and all the other girls had been there longer, because I always had a book in my hand. And I could escape. I could just go wherever I wanted. So that is what we want for all the children who do subscribe to our book club, that they find a way of engaging with the world in their own manner, on their own pace. And a book is always welcoming. It's non-judgmental. I wish we had friends like that, always available, non-judgmental and welcoming. And that's what we want for them. It's not about the right book. It's about the idea of books being your friends.
Right. Are you guilty of leaving a book halfway?
Oh, many times.
And
many times. It does bother me. And I think, oh my God, I should finish this. But as I'm getting older, I'm realizing I have very little time. And I'm also forgetting a lot of books that I read, in my 20s. And I want to reread some of them, at least the classics. So yeah, if a book is not going to hold my attention after 20 pages, then yes, I'm sorry. The book may be great. Maybe I'm not in the right mindset. And unfortunately, it's time to close that chapter permanently.
Tell us about the curation of the box. Are you gonna do it age-wise? Are you gonna do it, how are you gonna curate it for such varied audiences?
So we're going to it basically started with a lot of moms reaching out to me. how do we get our kids to read? Exactly what you asked me. And then we thought, we looked at our audience, we looked at the age group, we picked the one that we felt was most relevant to all our tweak readers and our tweak community, and we curated a box with a book in it, as well as things that are age appropriate for them to play, to color, to eat, and some stuff for safety, something. And we tried very hard for things to be sustainable, for things to be I would say not things you can pick and throw. And that is how we went about this. And the idea behind the book club and the subscription box is also that reading is a solitary pursuit. How do we make it into a community? How do you make readers engage with each other? And sometimes it can be really beautiful. I mean, today was a strange day. So I was in the hospital. I had finally, after many years, gone for checkup, a sort of a complete physical. And I was standing there really worried. It's COVID. You really don't, kind of know what's happening. And the doctor there started talking to me about books. And she also was a Jhumpa Lahiri fan. And we started talking about Interpreter of Maladies, which is my favorite book, happened to be hers. And somewhere I just started feeling a little comforted by having someone who had something in common with me, even when I was in unfamiliar circumstances. I was her world, not mine, but we had a bridge, and we had that bridge because of books. So yeah, that's what we want to have for our community of readers.
Right. When I interviewed Mrs. Murthy earlier this month, and she said, I had an allowance of 300 rupees between me and Mr. Murthy, and because we always wanted to buy books. Do you have an allowance? Because I've reached a point in my house where my husband just hides books in the boot of the car, and he just tries to sneak them in when I'm not at home, and then quietly puts them in the bookshelf so nobody figures out, but I still do. But do you really have an allowance and other restrictions on book budgets or any bit of that?
I don't. First of all, what's really nice is that books are relatively more economical indulgence than many other indulgences. And no, in fact, before the iPad existed and you could have books on them or a Kindle, every time I would go, so as an actress, I would go for 18, 20 days at a time, to sort of remote places. Yeah. I always carried 8 books with me, 8 to 10 books with me. And my fear would be that if I run out of these books, what am I going to do in between shots? And if I run out, that was a big fear. So I would carry extra. I would never finish those 8 or 10, but that was my backup, books in case I run out. So I'm the opposite. I don't think I have an allowance. I think the more the merrier. But yes, I do have a pile by my bedside that I still have to finish. And that makes me feel terribly guilty.
You can see the one at the back, right? I've literally have so many books to finish that it's crazy. And now I've kind of lost the joy of reading, I feel, somewhere, because I'm interviewing people and I have to finish the book within that frame to get back. So I'm hoping that I have to read a book where I don't need to take that back into a conversation for at least some time.
That does happen.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you go through that as well, right? That you have a stipulated time and you need to finish reading it.
No, I think for me, the joy of reading has shifted primarily because now I'm looking at books and reading them in an analytical manner. Often to see, how many twists are there in the story, what kind of metaphors are they using, all of that. But science fiction still remains that joy because there my brain is not engaged in any of this. It's just for the pure love of storytelling.
Right. Tell me also, the other day we were having a conversation where we were discussing that all of our kids are going to be really clones of each other. What's going to separate each of them? And we were just talking, and my husband said that I think the amount of books I've read, or you can say a great reader or a great storyteller is the one that'll really, really stand out, and he feels like his differentiating factor is how well read he is. And the reason I say this is, do you think books are going to be or just reading more has given you an edge over a lot of your peers? whether it's in writing or whether it's definitely not acting, but as a storyteller, as someone, as a columnist, as a writer, as a entrepreneur, do you feel that difference?
I can't compare myself to someone else, and I can't say that it's given me an edge. What I can only talk about is I have feels enriched because it's common sense. I have one brain with a certain limited amount of thoughts. Mm-hmm. Here I have, through books, I have the ability to tap into hundreds and thousands of the best brains that have ever existed, not just today, but in the past. And somewhere while reading all through these years, I may not remember these books anymore. I may not remember direct quotes anymore, but all of this has assimilated into some sort of thought process within my own head. And now they are my thoughts and altered by the way I think. But the foundation of all these things came from books, everything I believe in. So for example, I think that I really, because I grew up reading science fiction, the boundaries and borders that people felt existed, whether it was religion or country or national, didn't exist for me because they are looking at a country and I was looking at a whole solar system and probably more than that. So those sort of things I would definitely say have been defining because of my reading.
Right. Also, again, a dinner table conversation, which was about, your child is seeing two people at home. One is you, who's an avid reader. And the other one, I don't know if your husband reads as much, but I'm assuming...
He doesn't read at all.
Right.
No, he doesn't.
So my question would be that, how do you define success? Because both of you are very differently successful, right? But the world sees only materialistic success in many ways. How do you define to a child that reading is important and it's not only about a person who doesn't read? It really doesn't matter.
I don't think you have to set, you can't really set these things. Like I said, they're watching what you do and they're picking up things from you. If you are also, my husband hates the word engaging, but I keep using the word engaging. If you're engaging with your child in a particular manner, they tend to pick up the things that you talk about. Yeah. If we are going to, lie down in bed, books and stories, and my little one, and also, there is a little bit of a genetic, I would say, predisposition. Yeah. My sister reads a lot. My parents were readers. So she tends to pick that up. My son, but on the other hand, I tried very hard in the beginning and he didn't read, and now he does read and we share books. And one of my greatest joys, I think, is I was reading a book called French Exit and he really liked it and he borrowed my copy. And I think he was sharing with 2-3 of his friends. So here I am, a 40-something woman reading this book, and there are these 18-year-old boys and girls reading the same book, and we could both talk about it because we had, again, like I said, this bridge. So you can't really teach anyone. You can just, and you don't have to, you have to just be who you are, and you hope that your children are smart enough to emulate the best qualities from each parent.
Super. We're going to get into a quick rapid fire. Let's try and keep the answers as brief as you can. Okay. Describe Twinkle as a writer in one word and a mom in one word.
A writer, I would say dedicated, a mom guilty.
Okay. How many stars does Twinkle Khanna, the mom, get and Twinkle the actor get?
Have you seen my shirt? It's filled with stars, dude. So, just count them up for both.
Okay. You've read so many books. Your favorite character that you loved and would love to play it?
I wouldn't love to play anybody, but definitely, I think when I was reading Little Prince, I felt that book had so much value, and Little Prince is one of my favorite characters.
Okay. A character that you've read that you could play, that could actually play Twinkle like a super ninja mom, right? You just wish I could do all the multitasking that a mom brain does.
No, it doesn't exist. This is a myth, and we keep perpetuating this myth. There is no super mom. There is a mom who is feeling who's dropped the ball, who's terribly guilty about it, who's picking it up and who's going on. That super mom, and at least I don't know if any. I don't think my mom was a super mom. I don't think I'm a super mom. So yeah, I haven't seen those. I mean, unless you have and you are one, I don't know.
I'm not. The tape long time ago because I couldn't live up to the expectations. What would you love to outsource about parenting?
What would I love to outsource? Brushing my daughter's hair. Okay.
Oh, okay. I would just be like, outsource the reminders, brush, bath. You know, those.
No, just brushing her hair because it's 6:30 in the morning and her hair, like mine, gets tangled all the time. And so it's this ritual. And I prop her between my legs on the couch. And she's turning and squirming here and there and cribbing. And yes, that's a little, yeah, I'd like to outsource that for sure.
Okay, one book that taught you empathy.
Book that taught me empathy. I think I can't even name one. There were so many books. Each book gives you the ability to slip into someone else's mind. And what else is empathy but being able to think like someone else and to feel for someone else.
Right. You've played so many different roles. Is there one thing that you wish you wanted to be? Like you're an entrepreneur, you're a mom, you're a actor, columnist. Is there anything that's left? Like, I want to do this next, or this role?
No, I actually wanted to be a student again, and I am on my way of doing that. So yeah, I think I've even achieved that last one. But that was on my wish list for about 20 years. So yeah, almost there.
3 books that shaped you as an individual.
3 books that shaped me. Well, I think it was first Asimov's Foundation series. Again, because there were so many ideas, radical ideas at that point of time seeping into my head. I won't say it shaped me, but PG Wodehouse was somewhere that I escaped whenever I was miserable. There was always a laugh lying in between those pages and a way of not taking the world too seriously. And I think I learned that from Wodehouse. And else would I say? A third book, and trying hard. There are so many. I mean, I read everybody's. So, Murakami and Jhumpa Lahiri and Arundhati Roy. I probably have read Arundhati Roy's book, I think 3 times now, and it's a fat book. So it's not even like one of. So The God of Small Things is something that I kept reading. Again, it didn't shape me, but it was the beauty of the language. It was like listening to a song that changed for you, for each reader. And that, I think, is what language can do.
Right. One word that defines Tweak's new subscription box.
Immersive, I think. It's immersive, it's fun, it's full of delights. And like we say, it's not just a gift for the child, it's a gift for the mom. The kids are engaged, they're busy, they're doing something worthwhile, and you feel less guilty about it. I mean, that's an absolute winner.
Super. I hope this helps, and thank you.
Thank you.